Hello, ladies and gentlemen of SeemsGoodMagic.com. This is Travis Simulant Sowers, and we're back for a Gatecrash single elimination draft. This is the first Gatecrash draft I have done since this was out on Magic Online previously. I'm really looking forward to it. I will be jamming some on stream. Actually, it'll be the day that this comes out and the day following. But I've got a regional Pro Tour qualifier coming up on Saturday. So that'll have already happened by the time you see this. So wish me luck with your time traveling device. And then come by the stream and we'll draft some more Gatecrash. But I really enjoyed this format. I'm very excited to draft it again. Can't wait. So let's see what we open here while we enjoy a sip of coffee and wait for the queue to fill. Coffee is delicious. All right, here we are drafting Gatecrash like it's 4 years ago. Is that how long ago it was? I apologize. I appear to be having some sort of resolution issue with my monitor, which I thought I'd sorted out before I fired this, and then here it is kind of staring at us. So if these cards look a little funky, I'll certainly get that fixed before we do the next draft video. So let's look at the cards that are here. Immortal Servitude, no. Gift of Orzhova is a thing, but I'd like to leave myself open to Boros / Orzhov if I can. Mugging goes right into Boros. It's a sorcery speed shock, but it's very good. It leaves us open to Boros and Gruul, which I like. Syndic of Tithes is quite good, leaves us open to Boros and Orzhov. Grisly Spectacle is good, but you're kind of just playing it in Orzhov for the most part, as Dimir is very rarely open. But it's really difficult, in my estimation, to go wrong with the first pick Mugging. Like, we end up in Boros or Gruul. Those are the two guilds I would like to be in this format. So let's start with a nice cheerful Mugging, and we'll see where we go from there. This was surprisingly a key card in this format, which is just a little bizarre. You just needed something to block. Whispering Madness doesn't do what we want to do. Pit Fight is probably the card we're going to take. Murder Investigation is nothing. This looks like a card, and it is. Like, it's 6 mana for a 4/4 flyer that leaves behind a 1/1, which isn't irrelevant. But like, I'm still open to Boros / Gruul if I take Pit Fight, and it's kind of hard to be sad if you're starting with a couple of good quality removal spells. In my estimation, at least. Like, Instant Speed Fight, this is just good. Keymaster Rogue, if you were going to Dimir, was a good thing. There's really not much in this pack besides this and the Protector. I think I would narrow it down to just those cards, and the Rat if you're doing something black, but we'll get started with the Pit Fight and kind of see what might be open. All right, we got some good stuff here. Daring Skyjack is fantastic for Boros. Like, just an absolutely wonderful card. Doesn't play super well with the Pit Fight. Like, this is a little bit more of a Gruul hedge, but like, we should end up with Ember Beast if we go that route. The Scab Clan Charger is quite good for Gruul. I'd like to pick another red card and hedge one more turn, although the power level of Skyjack is so much higher than Ember Beast, it's tempting me. But I think with Mugging and Pit Fight, I'm happy to be red. And like, the Ember Beast is going to go in either of those decks. It plays nicely with the Pit Fight. I'm going to have 2-drops that are attacking, regardless of which guild I go into. And there's really nothing to pull me into any other area, other than perhaps the Shamble Shark. That's a good card. I think the Skyjack is better, but I'm going to take the Ember Beast to give myself one more turn to decide where I want to be. And now we've decided. Wojak Halberdiers would have been enough to get me to go last pack, but it wasn't there. But we're certainly taking it here. And welcome to Boros. That's just what we're doing. This guy's not unplayable. I remember it being okay in sealed, but it's not particularly great. Night Watch gives you Battalion, but yeah, we're just welcome to Boros, the format. That's what we're doing. And nothing here but another Skyjack, and I'm gonna gobble that up. What's really funny, and I love that these cards are in here, is this card is absolutely unplayable in Gatecrash, it and the rest of the cycle, the other Primordials, but they actually got quite good once Dragon's Maze was out. We'll probably be back with the Dragon's Maze draft next week, don't worry. But I thought that was really interesting that this card was bad now, and then one more set later, it's going to be pretty good. But yeah, we'll take our 2-drops and our Boros cards as we see them. This is a bit absurd. We're very happy. I wish I had that other Skyjack now, but I mean, I'm not unhappy to have an Ember Beast. It does give us one creature that can play well with a pit fight, which is not a bad thing. And basically what Boros wants is dudes, removal spells, combat tricks, predominantly the cheap dudes. Wojak Halberdiers and Daring Skyjack are the two common creatures that you really want for this deck. There's like, was it Truefire Paladin? I can't remember the name of the guy. There's another Boros dude I think that's uncommon, that's almost impossible to block. Maybe like Sunfire Paladin or something. I can't remember it. But you could like pump it, give it first strike, and it slices, it dices. It did all the stuff. It is not in this pack though. To be frank, nothing is in this pack for us, and I think we're pretty far into we're doing Boros. Like, it's not absurd for you to take Active Treason, and it does a little bit more in this format than you're used to when a lot of your dudes have Battalion. Like, sometimes you've got two dudes, and it actually forces through more than just getting the blocker, because, like, you're giving this guy flying and giving this first strike, so it can be a thing. Force Adaptation was a little too slow, but I did see decks built around it that were very interesting. I'm going to take the Act and put it over here. We may play it, we may not, we'll see. Not super surprising to see these as the cards that are left over. I'm just going to hack a Corpse Blockade, I guess. It's not really even worth dealing with. None of these cards are. I'll hack a Brute Strength. I suppose it's possible we play Gruul. The Syndic of Tithes wheeling is just a crime, and we're happy about it. I don't know how it happened, but sure, we'll do that. That sounds great. You don't really have a lot of room for this effect. Like, you don't want a lot of 5-drops. This guy's okay, right? Like, it attacks as a 4/6, which is a thing. I don't think there's a world in which I'm going to want Riot Gear or 2 Active Treasons, though. So I'll just take it for signaling purposes. If we have to have a 6 and don't, we can put that in. It's a late Shamble Shark, too. I suppose we can play Beckon Apparition. I doubt that we will, but a 1/1 flyer can be pseudo-relevant if we get enough Battalion triggers. Kind of surprised me if that's what we're doing, but it might be. This is a good start to a Boros deck. Pit Fight, again, not the best here. This guy's okay, as again, we don't have a lot of room for 5-drops, but it's not bad. It attacks as a 6/3 and blocks as a 3/6. Like, that's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. Just take this because it's sort of in our colors. So we've got like a pile of things we could play. Yeah, sure. We'll let you know blue's open. In case you didn't get the memo, blue is open. All right, so here we've got a Crypt Cast, which is very good if you're black. We're not. So we kind of can't do that. I think I'm going to take the Sky Knight Legionnaire, as it's just fantastic with what we're trying to do, and then see if we can wield the Assault Griffin. There's also Scar Guild Mage. This is very powerful. You can just start throwing lands at people's faces, which is great. Croconura is great. Yeah, we'd play the Assault Griffin. Maybe if we get a Madcap skills, we can put it on the Armored Transport, because that is really living the dream. But Sky Knight Legionnaire turns on Battalion from nowhere, and it's just a fantastic card. So I think we're pretty happy with that. Like, so far, our Battalion creatures are these dudes, and technically the Ember Beast is sort of like that. But yeah, Legionnaire is pretty good here. I remember the Shanktail being quite good. There's also a Skyjack, which I probably just have to take that. But like, this was, you can discard it to give something +3/+1 in first strike, which is kind of a big deal. Or just have a 3/1 first strike if that's what you want. Like, I would like all of these cards. I think we'd probably play a Denizen. Arrows of Just Ice is not exactly what you want in a deck that's looking to be aggressive. And in case you can't tell, we're looking to be aggressive. The Goblin's fine too. I just remember being able to land enough Skyjacks and flying over people. And I understand we got one late earlier, but if you're going to do Boros, this is what you do. Now this pack is a little less exciting. There's an S Laughter Horn, which is quite good in Gruul. That's not where we are. There's a Pit Fight is the only card we could reasonably play. And I don't even know that we can play 2 unless we're playing some number of these giant drops over here. So I'm going to put Pit Fights over here. We're still going to take it. It's just this is not the ideal place for it. Simic does appear to be open. This guy's a real card. It's possible that we're getting cut from Boros on this side, but I think we're too deep in to shift gears now. Yeah, still a Gruul Keyrune, Scab Clan Charger. Some good stuff here, but I mean, the Griffin's just fine. It attacks, it blocks. It's a Snapping Drake. That's a Griffin. Lots of blue here. Some of it actually quite good. If you're doing Dimir, this is going to be part of it. You can build a wonky mill deck with Undercity Informer if you can get some tokens going. I don't think we want to be playing Armored Transports. That doesn't mean that we want. So I'm going to take it and put it over here in this you can play pile. Because we've got like half of a very strong Boros stack. We kind of have to go from there. Is it great? No, but is it a combat trick? Yeah. Yeah, it'll do. Again, Simic cards coming by are starting to scare me a bit. This does not look good enough to be a combat trick in most sets, and it wouldn't be. However, here, it's just good enough. Oh, wow. All the cards we could want, all in one place. So we've got another Skyjack, which I want. We've got a Martial Glory, which is fantastic. Like, you want to blow somebody out with a combat trick, there you go. And a Scorchwalker. I'm going to take the Glory, and we're set on combat tricks. That's a close pick, though. I wish they'd been spread out a little more, because we would have liked them. That's just not where we are, is it? At this point, we'll just start hacking playables. That's really sad. That's really sad. Gruul Guildmage deserves more respect than that. Court Street Denizen goes right in the stack. Like, everything, all of our creatures other than the Ember Beast trigger this. And that can force you through a little bit of damage too. Just take a Gutter Skulk, they can block our stuff with it. Like, currently I could see running 1 Pit Fight. I'm not sure about 2 though. I could Charger. It looks like Gruul was a little more open, but like we ended up with so many good white cards, it's really difficult to tell exactly what we should have been going for. And that's part of flashback drafts too, is like you're drafting with people who know the format. This happens to be one that I know, but I've certainly jumped into flashback drafts where I had no idea what was going on and just started picking cards that looked cool. Both are valid strategies and can be a lot of fun. It's kind of going through the dregs here, but I mean, that's a playable spell. Great? Probably not, but certainly playable. All right, so we're looking to fill out a couple more creatures. More 2s is better. More Wojak Halberdiers is better. I probably need to put these in the maybes pile for now too, but like all of this is fine and playable. A lot of times when I'm drafting, I'll do these multiple piles. Like what I'm doing here is these are the cards that I'm excited to play, that I'm like, heck yeah, we get to play these. And then these are the cards that we can play. It's like, okay, we can play these if we need to. So friggin' Rage Beast, which is great. Like, if you can ramp it out, that's not what we're doing. It's pretty far away from what we're doing. We've got another 5, which is a fine one. It's a defensive blocking 5, which is kind of weird, but it can also attack. We've got another mediocre combat trick. We've got a 4-drop 2/2 flyer, which is not great, although it does technically help with battalion on these guys. But I think if I'm going to take a mediocre flyer, I'd rather have the 3/3 flyer for 5. Like, that's enough to be relevant. And sometimes even with Boros, you're behind. Like, Furious Resistance is just awful. I don't want a combat trick that I have to use when I'm blocking. And this guy's, I mean, okay. It's a lot of big dude, but I've kind of got that with the Cyclops if we want it to. I don't think we want to go into the Hellraiser Goblin territory. It's not bad, but it can mess you up. So we'll put this over here with the other 5 drops and see where we want to go. Foundry Street Denizen puts us on one path. Night's Watch puts us on another. This is not a bad 5 drop. Again, you get night tokens. I don't mind the Night of Obligation. It doesn't look fantastic, and it's not amazing in this deck. Like, we're not going to be extorting a lot, although it does give us some late game, which is not bad. The fact that it's got a big butt and can attack means that it's actually okay at enabling Battalion. Oh, the Vigilance is pseudo-relevant too. Yeah, but I think I'll go with the Knight. I'm not really interested in guild gates for this, although we'll take some if there's just literally nothing else in the pack. Smite usually isn't a card we're interested in. That's more of an Orzhov card. This may be that position where I'm like, okay, we'll take a guild gate. There's just not anything else here for us. And there's no reason to have bad mana. Like, I understand sometimes we're going to block, and Smite is not a bad card to have, but things are going terribly wrong for us if we are using it that way. I would like another Assault Griffin, but I'm going to take the Skinbrand Goblin. It's not a great combat trick, but it'll do. And the fact that it's a combat trick and a dude is pretty cool. Alright, time to make a choice. We've got an Edict, which is not bad, it's just slow, and Madcap skills that I'm totally taking. That means I can probably play that Armored Transport. Yeah, we're ready to get some skills going, is what we're ready to do. The format ended up kind of being all about this card towards the end of it, because it's just stupid. It's just that stupid. All right, so I just kind of need mediocre dudes at this point. We've got everything else we want. The staff's pretty bad. You can put it on a flyer and make it evasive forever. Make a bunch of tokens. Like, none of this does anything. I've already got lots of mediocre big stuff to play that I don't really want. I don't want another aerial maneuver. We've got like 2 combat tricks already. I guess we'll take that if we just end up really short on playables. Alright. This guy's not perfect, but he'll do. He'll do. Debtor's Pulpit was actually a card. Like, it took a while to get to the mana to do it, but it does something. It's a tapper. I'd just like to have more 2-drops if we're doing this. I kind of thought we'd see another Skyjack around here somewhere, and we just didn't. That's the only thing we can play, so we'll take it. I spun the Gargoyle and the Thunderfist. I don't have a lot of force, so I think I'm going to take the Gargoyle. Because if we end up filling this in with something like this, I could see this being a reasonable deck that we're getting started here. Maybe play one of the pit fights. I don't think I'm in for that guy, but I might be. Maybe even one of these transports. I mean, it turns on battalions for your little guy, and it sure is a lot of fun to put Madcap skills on it. That basically means they can't block it and they're taking 5 a turn. It's like, do you have a removal spell? You don't? Oh, well, I guess I win. It is very all in, but that's kind of what we want to do here. I didn't get quite as much removal as I wanted, so we're going to focus on player removal rather than creature removal. Like another late Court Street Denizen would do a good thing for us. I guess I can play the other pit fight. The challenge is, like, most of our stuff is, you know, 2 power and 2 toughness. What exactly are we fighting? Like, I'm okay with 1 because it's the Ember Beast is a decent target. This guy's an okay target. That's an okay target. Even the Knight can take out something small. And then you put it together with Martial Glory, maybe you're doing something. This is kind of a pretty good Boros deck. I would say perhaps not ideal. If we don't get another card, what am I playing? Something between the Commandos, the other pit fight, and the other Armored Transport. Yeah. It's probably going to be the pit fight, and I'm wondering if I'd rather just swap the Fortress Cyclops for the Commandos at this point. Just because it plays better with the pit fight. So if I'm going to have two of them, why not do that? I could also take out the Guardian of the Gateless. Again, it's fine. It's an evasive creature. I realize this doesn't look great either, but we're just looking to force damage, and it can certainly do that if I can enable an attack with more than one creature. Sure. I kind of think I should play the other pit fight. And that kind of makes me want to put another beefy creature in here. Even if it's not a particularly good one. Because, like, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to end up with pit fight in my hand and nothing to fight with. Because, like, who plays nicely with pit fight? This guy, I mean, saying that these play nicely is a bit of a stretch. We can take out one toughness dudes. God, pit fight just sucks. One power dudes, I guess. Yeah, the pit fight's just not good enough with this creature base. I think, sadly, we're going to have to play the Nav Squad Commandos. Which isn't terrible. We've got a lot of dudes, right? And we've got a solid game plan. Attack, 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 attack. There are 16 land Boros decks. I've done that plenty of times. This isn't one of them. Because, like, we end up having to play some top end. It felt like Boros was very open in pack 1, and then maybe another person jumped in with us. It was also a very hotly contested deck, just because it was so aggressive and so good. I think Gruul was actually my favorite deck, because when all of your dudes are also combat tricks, that's pretty cool. Like, it's neat that we picked up one, even if it's not a great one, because it certainly does something. But yeah, two pit fights is a little greedy with a bunch of creatures that can't actually fight. Like, we're going to end up 2-for-1ing ourselves with that a lot of the time, and I don't want to do that. All right, well, this will do. Let's get us some lands. A little heavier on the white, I can agree with that. The forest, though, I'm not really on board with. Like, I appreciate you trying to help me out here, Magic Online, but that's crazy. That lets us just go 8/8 and have the Guild Gate and kind of be fine. Because, like, none of our cards are super color intensive. And we've got a decent amount of red 2-drops. Like, we want red and white on turn 2 for these Halberdiers and turn 3 for the Legionnaire. All right, cool. I'm going to submit this bad boy, and we'll see you for round 1 in just a moment.